Welcome to the Seed Creative Podcast, the podcast where we discuss both video production and just life in general. The goal of this podcast is the same as the goal of our business, to make a difference in people's lives.
Hello and welcome to the Seed Creative Podcast. Today we are doing something amazing, George. What are we doing?
We're talking to David Barker. As you can see here, if you're watching, I encourage you to go watch. We've got some of his demo reel just kind of rolling on the screen here. But David is an incredible director, editor, DP, producer, writer. He does it all, and he's based in Taiwan. So the time difference is kind of crazy, but we're really excited to have him on. So let's jump in. Here we go. David Barker, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm feeling great. We're on opposite sides of the world, and it's like 12 hours difference, 13 hours difference. But thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude. What time is it there?
It's about 10 p.m.
10. Okay. Well, you're a trooper. We appreciate it. So we originally had David scheduled for 7 p.m. our time last night, and it was going to be like 9 a.m. or something your time.
And then the world exploded.
And then we had tornadoes literally come within a few miles from the studio, and the power went out and all this. So it worked out well that we rescheduled. We appreciate your flexibility. But, man, if people don't know and they're listening, this is David Barker. Tell us just really quickly who David Barker is, kind of where you're located and what you do for a living.
Well, I am a Canadian boy. I came over to Taiwan a long time ago to study Chinese. That was my plan, study Chinese for a year and then go back. And I ended up just falling in love with the place and stayed here studying Chinese for a little while. And then I kind of fell into a photography job just randomly. And that just kind of did that for a few years. And then someone said, hey, we got everything set up. Can you shoot a video too? And I said, sure. And then I hung up the phone and figured out, oh, crap, now I got to figure out how to make a video. And then it just kind of evolved from there. So now I have a company here in Taipei. We have 6 full-time employees plus me. And we primarily do TV commercials, web commercials, all that kind of good stuff.
So what year was that whenever you moved over there?
I originally moved over here the first time in 1999.
Oh, cool.
I was a fresh-faced young lad, and I was just going to take a break from college and come here, study Chinese, and then go back and keep studying.
So you've been there ever since?
Well, I mean, I came and went, did a little travel in the middle, but yeah, basically, I've been in Taipei since 2006 now.
That's incredible, man. What year did you start, officially start your company? And what is your company called, by the way? What's the name of your company?
Well, when I was working as a photographer, I ran into this guy in a lineup for a concert who was this British guy who was in graphic design, and he worked at agencies in the UK. And he and I kind of realized we needed each other at the time. So we decided to form a company. We had no idea what that really meant, but we made a company, and we just started doing advertising stuff then. It kind of turned from event photos into more stuff on the commercial end of things. And then that was called Pixel Deep. That company was called Pixel Deep. And then we did that for quite a while, and then we realized at one point that when I started doing video and he was doing more of kind of the graphic design type stuff, we realized that we hadn't really worked together on a project in a year. He had his little team, I had my little team, and it just, didn't really make sense anymore. So we closed down that company. He started his own company, and he's doing pretty well. And I started my own company in 2017. And I didn't know what to call it. I went through a bunch of different back and forth about, do I call it a name?
That's the hardest part, yeah.
What I call it, And I talked to a lawyer friend of mine, and he advised me just to keep my name and use my name as the company, because my name kind of sounds cool in Chinese. It's very simple, and the characters are really cool. And because I work in Taiwan, and 75% of my clients are from from here, and they're Chinese speaking. They know me by my Chinese name.
How do you say your Chinese name?
Bake.
Ah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Just, they use it's the same as it's kind of the same as in Starbucks. So everyone kind of knows it, and the characters look cool, and it's just a simple name, and people don't really associate it as a name. They just think it's kind of like a company name.
Got it.
Yeah.
And because I worked with my old company, I'd worked with a bunch of agencies, that my lawyer friend told me that if I kept this name, it was kind of a little bit of a loophole that I could keep using all of the work that I'd done up until then under the name of this new company. So it wouldn't raise any eyebrows if I put, some commercial that I'd done on my website. So it seemed like a good idea. And I know it's a little old school now because, all of the big ad agencies do that, and all of the new cool companies, have some abstract weirdo name that doesn't say anything about the name of the founders or anything about video or anything like that. But whatever, I just kind of fell into it, and for practical reasons, it seemed to work. So it stuck. So now my company is just called Barker Production. Bake in Changzhou is the Chinese name. So it's not productions, it's just production. So people that are agencies or people that are kind of more in the industry will know right away that I'm a production company, which is most of my 95% of my clients are either agency or companies that shoot a lot of video. So they'll know right away that that's what I do.
Not to jump ahead too much, but do you, when you're on shoots, do you speak entirely Chinese on the set, or do you speak any English too?
I mean, it really depends who I'm working with. Like I have a good friend who's a photographer, and I sometimes have photo needs on a video job. So we talk in English when we're on the set, or if I'm working with actors or models that speak English, and of course English with them. But I mean, all of the other employees I have here are all, we have to speak Chinese all day.
Wow,
so
that's cool.
I don't know any other languages. You're making me feel dumb.
I got some European clients, and they made me feel like a bonehead. They all speak like 7 languages. Some clients from like Amsterdam and Germany, and they're all like, oh yeah, we speak French, German, Dutch, whatever,
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. It's crazy. Yeah.
Part of the culture.
So how many people do you have like working under you? Do you have full-time people, or is it just freelancers, or how does it work?
I have 6 full-time people right now. And then, so that would be, like project managers, editor, creative. I have an accountant, full-time accountant who also deals with like contracts and payments and all that business. And then, aside from that, we bring on people per job, because some of them just make sense. Like I have a camera assistant who's my focus puller, my first AC, and he's not an employee, but he's 90% of his work comes from us, and I use him to shoot. So, he's been with me for like 6-7 years now. And then, like lighting crew, or I got a makeup artist that I've worked with for 13 years. So he's not, employee. He does his other stuff on the side, of course, but, so it's a combination, some project by project, some staff.
So you and I have known each other for a while online. And I can't remember who found who. Did you find me? Did I find you? Do you remember it all? Or was it through the Video Creators That Care About Making Money group?
Didn't we match on Tinder or something?
That's what it was.
No, I'm pretty sure it was. I was just, online looking for an argument in a Facebook group or something, and I stumbled across your group, and I remember you wrote something about. It was something to do with the business side of production, and it stuck out from everything else. It was something about how would you approach this job with this budget or something like that. And I was like, this is the kind of guy I like talking to. That's how I like having these kind of conversations, as opposed to, is Sony better than Canon or whatever is in all the other.
All right, let's get on a rant, you and I together, okay? Because I feel like I'm in a position now where I can, without being boastful or anything, say, I feel like we're pretty successful, from my company perspective. And then looking at the stuff you do, hands down, I would like to throw out the claim that you guys are quite successful. You're doing big jobs, things that we we would love to be a part of at some point in the future, just because we love the quality of your work. But what you just said is one of the biggest things that I find so many grievances with in the community, and that is this obsession with brand and like what shoots the highest, the highest resolution, what's the best glass, what's all that. Can you and I just go on a rant right now and explain to people that it really, at the end of the day, what you hear all of these people say that are in these higher areas, it matters the most is your story and your lighting and your understanding of composition more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the conversation topic is about, just it really depends a lot on your experience, really. I mean, if what you're doing is you take your camera, you go to an event, you shoot it for 5 hours, and then you hand it in. The kind of camera you use affects what you're doing a lot. Whereas if you're doing something where you're dealing with, lighting crew, building sets, writing scripts, you have different actors and, they have different wardrobes and hairstyles, and it all matters. Then, what camera you use it still makes a difference, but it becomes so insignificant in the big, the big picture. I mean, but that being said, I also am a champion of, I think conversations about any part of video production are valid.
True, that is true.
Dominate conversation. It shouldn't be 90% of what you're talking about. But at the same time, there's also nothing wrong with a couple DPs talking about, oh, I love the look of that new, Cook lens as opposed to this anamorphic, and it works good with this project, and all that sort of stuff. It's a valid conversation to have. It just shouldn't, it shouldn't be
everything. Yeah.
I think the problem comes when people say like, this is the best period, because that is their opinion.
That's not a thing. There's no best period.
Like, we love red, but like, I'm not going to see someone shooting with an area and be like, oh, you suck. You're using an area. Oh, like, like what? Like, that happens. I feel like that happens a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's also what you're used to. People who use Ari's for the past 10 years, they obviously think Ari's the best, or, they would use what they feel is the best. But I mean, it's horses for courses. If you're shooting a run and gun event by yourself, there's no way you're going to bring a mini LF out to it.
Yeah.
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 And I really think, the people who are about giving hard and fast rules about, this is the way that things are done. It just doesn't, there's video production is such a wide industry that what's true for one person is not true for this guy, and it's totally different for this guy. So,
well, I completely agree there, because what you do and what we do is very different. There are similarities, of course, but we're primarily on the corporate side of video production, and we don't do a lot of advertising. We've been doing more lately.
Right.
But a lot of what we do are things that are internal based videos that only people, it's like business to business, like only things that people within those companies are going to see. But yeah. I want to switch gears a little bit. So, we have a lot of listeners that are new to video production, and I think it's always good to hear, you kind of shared a little bit of your story, how you got started, which I love, by the way. Your story is so similar to mine. It's so similar to Jared Land, who we spoke to recently. It's just kind of like you fell into the groove of what you love, and you turned it into a career. But there are obstacles, as with anything. What are some obstacles that you had to overcome as you were starting to find your groove and get into video production full time?
I mean, it's just coming face to face with the reality that I knew absolutely nothing.
Right.
And the more that, the bigger jobs that I was dealing with, the more I realized that I know virtually nothing, compared to some of these people. I was a hot shot photographer. I was on stage with Dr. Dre and Flo Rida shooting all this stuff, and I was shooting a couple magazine covers. And then all of a sudden I was thrown into doing a behind the scenes on a big shampoo commercial with a big star. And all of a sudden I was listening to what some people were talking about, and I realized I had nothing I didn't know what they were talking about.
Mm.
It was kind of embarrassing and it was kind of intimidating. So I just realized I need to, learn in a big hurry what it was all about. And then once you get in the technicals, then there's a whole nother level of the business side of it, the marketing side of it. So I mean, it's a huge world. It's so deep, and you can't know everything. Maybe when you're 70 years old, you'll know everything, but when by that time, you won't know any of the new tech.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was about to say, it's like,
you can never know anything. Yeah. You can never know everything. So, I mean, realizing how little you know is a huge step in like humility.
oh yeah, it's a benefit.
Yeah.
And I mean, what else? I think understanding that everyone's coming at it from a different perspective and what's important to everybody makes a big difference. So like when first time I go to a meeting with a big company, I always like to look around the table, and there's usually like a marketing manager, and there's a boss, and there's a technical person, and there's a brand manager, and there's, all these different people on the other side of the table. And I always try and figure out what's important to everyone, like what does this guy want to get out of this? And what is this person looking for? And, that dictates kind of how you interact with those people, and it dictates how you introduce the script and how you introduce your idea. And, that's really important to me now, is kind of figuring out everyone's perspective is different. And, you can't get caught up in your videographer or your director or your DP kind of angle, because sometimes the things that we care about just aren't what they care about.
That's really strong, and that actually is something that I can identify with right now with something that we dealt with, because like I told you, we've only recently been doing like more ads and stuff, and we recently had a video in which we were told we need to create it. It needs to feel like an Apple commercial. Like, this is an ad, so we like make this super cool commercial. The guy loves it. He's like, all right, I'm going to show it to my people. And he shows it to his people, and they're like, what is this? This isn't, we didn't want an ad or a commercial. We wanted like an informational video with like testimonials. And I'm like, okay, so I will go ahead and say, like, that's my fault for not realizing that there were multiple people involved. But when we got into the project, we were under the assumption that, okay, this individual is making all the shots, and they're telling us they want a commercial and an ad, so we're just going to do it. It ended up working out. They're using what we did, and we're just going to do another video. So it worked out well. But yeah, it was a big wake up call that, man, when you're dealing in a space like this, not like the corporate world, but more like when there's this like advertising, this is going to be a public video, there are a lot more people involved than just the marketing manager, that you have to get their opinions and take into account. So I fully agree. And I think that's really valuable for newer people to understand that if you're in a meeting with one person, maybe just say, now, are there going to be other people making decisions? Who are all of the decision makers here? And let's get their input before we go and spend 3 days filming,
Yeah. I mean, the bigger the company, it seems that the more kind of evident that is, just because the responsibilities they have become more and more kind of defined. We just did a couple projects with a big tech company called Mediatek, who, they're not really a consumer brand that much, but a bunch of products you use their stuff, and they did like $18 billion in sales last year, and they're massive company, right? They sell chips to all the cell phones and stuff like that, right? So when we were doing their stuff, we had to, the script that we're working on, we literally did like 42 revisions of the script of what was being said. And 5-10 years ago, I would have been like rolling my eyes and thinking these people are idiots. What are they doing? This is great. Let's just do this. But then, we're kind of going over things. We have a Zoom call while we're doing it, and there's people from the different countries. there's legal people listening. There's engineering people listening, and they're all kind of refining stuff. And oh, we can't say this word. This has other implications that will,
Oh yeah.
all these little like really really detailed things that's why they sold $18 billion in stuff last year, because they know the implications of all these little little details that are going on.
So what kind of can you give us like a rundown of some of recent clients that you've worked with, that kind of stuff?
Sure. So the stuff that I put on my website, it's primarily kind of consumer stuff. It's the stuff that kind of I feel is a little more glamorous and a little prettier, and kind of more the average person will look at the website and be more attracted to it. So I put on stuff like cosmetic stuff or car stuff or motorcycles or just kind of flashy cool looking things. But then we also do a lot of work that never gets on the website, either for legal reasons or for boring reasons.
Same here.
But I have a scooter brand, an electric scooter brand that I've been working with since 2015. Shot about 16 commercials for them. I know electric scooters aren't cool in North America, but they're a staple of life in Asia, and they're a really progressive, really cool company, and we do a lot of work for them. We just finished a really epic, like 4-day shoot for a 60-second spot, which was a lot of fun. Done a lot of BMW stuff, Suzuki stuff, a lot of the Japanese brands like Hitachi, Panasonic, Sharp, and then we've done stuff like Honeywell and Philips and Estee Lauder and things like that, Braun. But then there's also a lot of like tech companies that you've never heard of that occupy also a lot of our time. Battery manufacturers and like green energy, that kind of stuff. Robot manufacturers.
What is your favorite type? And I don't want to get you in trouble with any of your clients, but what would you say are some of your favorite types of videos to work on? Do you enjoy the big budget, just like all out, we're going crazy, or do you enjoy like the smaller, like lower budget, intimate videos, or like where is David Barker's head in all of that, or do you enjoy all of it?
I mean, I won't lie. I love the big stuff.
Yeah.
I love working on big projects. You get to work with, really talented people. You don't have to compromise and say, oh, we can't afford to work with the best lighting guy this time. I love having lots of toys to play with and lots of possibilities.
Right.
And having, great actors, great models, great clothing, all that stuff is really nice. I think that's it. Is working with a big team and working with a bunch of talented people is a really great experience.
When you're on set, what is typically your role?
I'm typically director. 90% of the time, I'm director. 10% of the time, I'm executive producer. So we'll have another director. But I'll be director and usually DP as well, which I know is unusual, but it's just how I roll.
That's how we do it.
Yeah, I must say, for us, we do not define, we do sometimes for bigger projects, but we are just all right, you use the camera now. All right, you use the like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and again, because of the types of videos that we do, it's a little bit easier for us to trade roles literally on the spot. It'll be like one person is shooting B-roll down the hall because we're at a doctor's office, and then the other person is over here conducting interviews, and then someone comes to me, or I'll be doing interviews, and they'll come and say, hey, George, we need your input on this B-roll we're about to shoot. And I'll look at Nick, and I'll be like, hey, here's the questions. Continue conducting interviews, and I walk down the hall and help DP or whatever, or direct for the B-roll shoot. So... but yeah, no, that's what I figured. So,
I have a question too. So for these, I know you have a wide range, but what are your kind of budgets that you work with for these kind of shoots that you can say?
Well, okay. I guess the biggest budget stuff I've done is about $250K, something like that.
For a single video?
for a single video with different cut downs.
Right.
Versions, different cut downs, or for like a series of like fitness videos or something like that. I've done a couple 250K projects for where we deliver like a dozen 20-minute fitness videos or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Set and have a bunch of talents and stuff. Typically, I would say average budget is probably somewhere in the 50K, somewhere like that. But then we also do, I mean, we have a few regular clients that we work with for a long time, and they throw us little things all the time. And some of them are $1,000 or $500. We need a little banner for the website to get this done by Wednesday, and we get it done. So I often see this argument on the Facebook groups is a $20,000 or your $500 client will never be your $50,000 client. Have you seen those? You know what I'm talking about? Where
I know what you're talking about, and I know what you're gonna say, but yes, continue.
Yeah, I mean, I see that argument all the time. Is people say if you do a $500 job for this company, they're never going to look at you as their $50,000 guy, right? And I guess there's a certain amount of logic to that, I suppose. But the reality is that even global companies often need something small.
Yeah.
And if you aren't willing to do that small stuff for them, then they still need to get it done. If you refuse it, they're gonna go find someone else.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
And then what's say that the next time they have a bigger thing, they're not going to consider that company to do the bigger thing. So I mean, like I've done 8 commercials for BMW, and it's the same thing. Sometimes they have like little $500 things that they need to get done right away. So yeah, we just get it done. So,
man, I love talking to you, and I love that you are on the other side of the world and you're describing exactly how it is in Alabama.
Yeah.
Because we have people that we have done things for $15,000-$16,000, for a single video. Their overall annual budget will have been $60,000. They worked with us, and then they'll come to us and be like, "Hey, we need this. We've got a $1,700 budget," and we're like, "Yeah, let's do it." You know what I mean? Like they'll be like, "Oh, can we come in and do this?" Like you said, $500, whatever, and we do that, and then literally, a month or two down the road, they come to us with a $25,000 gig or something, and so, yeah, dude, like I fully agree. I think that people are just not good at articulating things well online unless they write a paragraph, which is what you and I tend to do. We're like, all right, let's break this down. I've got 5 minutes. I'm gonna actually answer this question properly, and people that are willing to take the time to read it might actually learn something. I think that people, what they're trying to say is like the person that comes to you and they're like, I got $500 and this is going to kill me to do, but we got to do it. Like these,
that's different.
Yeah, that's totally different. But I think that it does need to be like articulated better to say, if someone comes to you and they're from this huge corporation and they have a $500 budget on this one small thing, you need to look at the bigger picture and say, dude, they're working for like this multi-million-dollar company. You need to get your foot in the door. And even if you take a small step in, like you can eventually gradually grow that relationship, and then you are their go-to people. And that's what we've done with multiple companies.
People, yeah. I mean,
Well,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, and that just applies to like everything that we do. Like, I mean, that happened with us with motion VFX, for example. Like, we did. I mean, we did, like you talk about too. We did some free stuff for them too.
Yeah, we just did some like free stuff, and now they're one of our biggest clients. Like, it's incredible. So, and we have an awesome relationship with them, man. They're like hands down like some of our favorite people to work with. So we always have to throw that out there.
This kind of open up a bigger controversial can of worms here if we, explore the fallacy of value-based pricing. If I know someone that's going to raise some people's eyebrows in the comment section there, but I think a lot of people take the stuff that someone like Chris Do.
Yeah, I knew that too. Yeah.
He's a sharp guy. No one's going to say he's not. He's a smart guy, lots of experience. But the reality is, a lot of the things that he says apply to a graphic designer or a logo, as opposed to a video production company who's servicing a global company on a regular basis. So value-based pricing is the idea that you base the price on how much the client is potentially going to make off the product or off the video, or how big the company is, or something like that. And from a very, very basic level, I guess it helps people get their head around the idea that a 30-second video for, Uncle Billy's Donuts is different than a 30-second video for Mercedes-Benz.
Sure.
Right? Even though 30-second videos, one is going to be worth a lot more money than the other one. And of course, that's a valid argument, of course. But you can't just base it off that. It still has to come down to, what are you doing? What resources are you expending on this project? What risks you're taking? How much time is it going to suck up? Is it, all these factors have to go into it, because if you're dealing with a large company and they regularly come to you for their different needs, not every project they do is going to have the same space in their budget, right?
Yep.
They have different importance for product A, product B, product C. One of them might only be assigned a $5,000 budget. One of them might be assigned a $50,000 budget, but they're both an equally valuable product in terms of how much it sells for, and they're both coming from the same company. So you can't just base it off that. You got to base it off, what are their expectations and what's required in the job.
I totally agree.
So I agree, and let me say that you are the person that got me thinking in that way, 100%, because I would listen to him. You're talking about the future guy, right? Yeah. So he is incredible, but I fully agree. He's typically talking about graphic design, or even if he is talking about video, look, he's an awesome guy and he's built an incredible company, but sometimes like you can disagree with people like him, and I've tended to lean more toward your thought process in that. Again, I think it comes down to articulation, that when he's saying, well, Mr. Client, you could give me $1 million, so you should, because you can. Mm-hmm. And other people hear that and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do minimal effort and get maximum return on this $1 million. Whereas what you're saying makes a lot more sense to say, okay, you can give us $1 million. We're going to give you $1 million worth of production value. That's where I think people need to understand what you're saying is, okay, there's a $5,000 budget. We're going to give you the best $5,000 production value we can, because that's just how math works. $5,000 gets you a day with 3 of our people, or whatever, however you break it down. $1 million gets you a month, and so, but no, I fully agree. And value-based pricing is a slippery slope, because I also think that there are a lot of people that listen to that and they get in over their head because they're not managing expectations, like what you just said. And they're like, yes, Mr. Client, you can pay me, $100,000. Great. Give me $100,000. And then they're like, oh my God, like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not going to be able to give them $100,000 worth of value here because I'm not capable. I don't know enough yet. And so I do appreciate that perspective, and I think that's probably going to be a soundbite or something that we pull out of this and use, because it is controversial, and that's what gets clicks.
I think maybe a good way to look at it is you look at the type of client and the type of work that they do, and that will give you a general sense about what ballpark they're playing in.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if it's, Uncle Joe's coffee on the corner, then you know that he's not going to be that concerned about certain things,
sure.
Right? If for LV or whatever, that they're thinking in a different area, right? They're going to have a ton of other expectations. So in that way, it gets you thinking in the right, the right zone, the right ballpark. But other than that, you still have to base it on what's required from the script, because the same company will do things that have a budget like this, or the same thing have a budget like this.
Yep.
Not just because of who they are.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I think that you run into a lot is, for the most part, I mean, with these big marketing agencies that you work with, and they know, but like for the smaller clients like we have, they don't know what a video costs. Like they just don't. And so they'll approach you with a budget, and you have to like explain to them what they can get with that. So like, they might say, oh, we have $5,000. And we're like, oh, great, we can do X, Y, and Z. But if they say, oh, we only have this much, we're like, well, we can do that, but this is as much as we can do. And you have to like be honest with yourself with both things, if that makes sense, I feel like.
So when I write proposals, I usually give like 3 options. It's like, here's your affordable option, here's a middle ground, and this is the biggest, baddest video that we think we can do. When you write proposals, do you kind of do the same thing, or do you typically, I know you have such established relationships now, you can just say, hey, hey, person that I talked to for years, what's your budget? They tell you the budget. You're like, cool, we'll get it done. But when you are seeking out new clients, new proposals, how do you go about doing so?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, most of my regular clients, they say, hey, we've got to do this. Here's the budget. Here's the schedule. Do it, right? So we come back with a plan that works in that budget. I'm shooting something on this on Sunday that can't talk about too much, or they'll kill me. But we didn't know them. They just were referred to us, and I kind of said, okay, the kind of thing you're looking at is somewhere between here and here. It's somewhere in this range. Here's something we've done similar. It was this much money.
Yep.
Here's something we've done like this. It was this much money. Does that kind of make sense to you? And they'll say, yeah, I think we'd be comfortable with something in this range. So then we went back to them with, like you say, a plan A, plan B, plan C, slightly different configurations and different deliverables.
Yep.
And the range was maybe from, I think this case was from like $30,000 to $90,000 or something like that, right? So somewhere in the middle. And they end up coming back with something right in the middle, and then we upsold it a little bit after that. So
nice.
Yeah.
So we have a project that we're working on right now, and it was similar. They came to us and they were like, all right, just give it. And I said, what's typically your budget? And they're like, well, we'd just like to see what you come up with. I'm like, crap, of course. So, but literally, I think ours was the same. It was 30, 60, and 90. And they came back, and I'm like, I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, I think they're going to be like thinking that the lower budget is too much. But I was honest with myself, and I was like, no, this is what it's going to be. Like, this is what it has to be.
Or we can't do it.
Or we can't do it. There's a 30, 60, and a 90. And they came back, and they were like, hey, like, this is fantastic. This is perfect. So we want to see what you could do for 80. And they said, because our maxed out budget is $80K, so can you give us a little bit of a mixture between your plan B and your plan C? And I looked at my wife. I'm like, oh my, like we basically got like the biggest, baddest one. And it was because I was true to myself and I listened to their needs. And I said, I'm not going to base this. It goes back to that value based. I'm not going to base this on who these people are. Because in this case, I was thinking they were going to be on the lower tier. And so I would have missed out on money and opportunity by coming in with a $10,000, small budget or whatever. I went in full steam ahead, and they came in at $80K. The contract is done. Deposits paid. We're working on it now. So that value-based mindset can also jack you up. It can mess you up because you're going to be thinking, well, the value trade-off here, they're a small little, company or college or whatever it is. So anyway, yeah, I'm also championing what you say. Championing. I don't know how to say it. I'm a champion of what you're saying to not get so wrapped up in this value-based junk.
Yeah, the longer you do it, the more you can give examples on
Yep.
both sides of that spectrum where you've been proven wrong, where you thought it was a small company and so you went in low and they ended up you're not getting the job, and then
Yep.
you saw something they've done and it was boom, 6-figure, and you're like, no.
Yep.
And then the other way too is where it's a giant company, you go in big and then you lose it because all that they needed was something small. So it can happen. So you just need to look at, we have to assess their expectations for this particular project.
What's also fun, and this happened recently, is when we bid against someone and we are the higher company and we won. We won the bid. Because their expectations were that higher end budget and quality, and someone is coming in nervous about a budget or price, and then they're like, yeah, I don't think that they're going to be able to achieve what we want because they're coming in, half of what Seed Creative came in. And so they go with us. So, yeah, it's been awesome. I'd love to share some of the stuff that you've done, and I think that I'm going to be able to do this in a way that you can see it along with us. So I'm going to go to share screen. So this is a good opportunity for audio-only listeners. We would encourage you to come over. We've got these in video form on YouTube. So if you're not watching on YouTube, if you are audio only, this would be a great opportunity for you to come and join us in kind of checking out some of the work that David and his team have done over there. So we're just going to go here. Which video would you like to kind of show off first? I think I'm going to go to the Sharp video because that Joker is really impressive. So let me go to it here. Let's share.
We haven't watched them yet. So we've seen stuff but we haven't watched them today yet. So
yeah, we haven't watched them today. Now I've seen them. So David, hopefully you can see this. But all right, we're about to watch this video. It is 35 seconds long. So here we go. And then I'd like to come back and maybe go to some different stills and you can kind of break down some of the shots. So sick. So that was a BMW commercial. I thought that I clicked on the Sharp video, but I guess I didn't. But let's go through this a little bit. So, my God, first of all, incredible job, man. When did you shoot this video? Hold on, we can't hear you.
All right, on mute there.
There we go.
BMW X6, that was about September 2020.
Okay.
I think. Yeah, September 2020. That was about the fourth or fifth thing we'd done for BMW, and it was just kind of a product. They would refer to it as a product video because maybe there's some subtle differences in the product that are for this market, so they have to kind of do a market specific piece for it. Because if you're in the market for a car like that, you're looking at the little details, what's upgraded from last year, what's the difference between a comparable car from Audi or Benz or Lexus. So you're looking at all those little details. So this is kind of a video aimed at the kind of educated consumer.
What was this shot on?
This was shot on my Monstro.
Got it.
With Tokina Vista lenses.
So we're seeing a lot of stuff go on. I'm going to assume that this opening shot here, that's a composite. That smoke is a composite. Is that right?
I actually can't see your screen right.
Oh, you can't.
Huh.
Yeah, but I do know the shot that you're talking about. Actually, no, we did have live smoke on the day. I can't recall if we augmented it with additional smoke, but yeah, we did have smoke on the day.
Oh, okay.
So how did it disappear?
Is that a reverse shot?
Yeah, I do that all the time. I love the smoke in reverse.
I should have known that.
What a great idea. See, the only reason I thought it was a composite because I was like, how did it disappear? But then as soon as you were like, no, we had live smoke, I'm like, okay, so it was a reverse shot. Dude, that is sick, man. So
that one, I mean, that's a client that's very, very picky about, because they shoot so much. They're super picky about all the little things that, cinematographers like to nerd out about in Facebook groups.
Yeah.
So this is an example of where, those kind of little things do matter. So like when you go into a meeting with them, those people watch car commercials all day long.
Yeah.
Right. So there you can say, oh, I saw this Volvo commercial last week and it has this. They've all seen it before, right? So they've seen every commercial for every brand pretty much, right? So, and they also shoot so much is if you kind of go cheap on the lighting or go cheap on the color grading, they tell instantly. So it's kind of a brand like that. They really appreciate the little things that we like to kind of nerd out about. So that's nice.
Gotcha. All right, man. So we're gonna watch this one now. So this is Sharp. Give us a little bit of some details about what was the purpose of this video.
Yeah, this one requires a little bit of backstory on it. So Sharp came out with an 8K TV, which is, they were expecting it to be kind of more widely adopted as a consumer product, but it just hasn't happened yet. But it is used pretty widely in like exhibitions and hospitals and, airports and that sort of thing. So anyway, this commercial was intended to be a dual purpose. It was supposed to be a commercial for this product, which would be shown in 4K and HD in TV on broadcast TV as well as online.
Right.
But they also wanted it to function as a demo film. So if you actually went into one of their shops in a Costco or in a shopping mall or somewhere like that, you could sit down on their sofa and watch their big 70-inch 8K screen and just see all the detail and all the color and everything.
And
so that led to.
Sorry,
go ahead. I was just going to say that leads to a bunch of like technical obstacles that, made it a little more difficult for us to shoot something as pretty as we wanted. That we could have made it prettier if we didn't have those kind of restrictions. So the whole thing from start to finish was all done in 8K 60. So we shot on a base frame rate of 60 and the whole thing's done in uncompressed 8K, which means that we couldn't do any slow motion because it was only camera that was available was Helium or Monstro 8K 60. We shot in base rate 60, so no slow motion. And it also meant that we couldn't really do anything soft focus. Like not shallow depth of field. They wanted everything to be quite sharp.
Yeah.
So most of it is shot at like 6.3 or some of it shot at like 11 or 13.
Yeah.
So they wanted it to be like really, really tack sharp.
I love that makes total sense because they want the viewer to be watching in 8K 60 and then I didn't even think about those limitations.
Let's say you had to deliver an 8K, which is unusual.
Deliver an 8K 60.
Yeah. So we had to do everything like the color grading and all of the little animation bits and everything had to be done. And also when you're doing that, you don't get to do stuff like stabilization in editing. Because stabilization eats into your frame a little bit, right? So that would make it less than 8K. So everything had to be super smooth. So we're on like a stabilized crane and, all those little.
Yeah, that is tough.
detail.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to check this video out really quickly. Here we go.
Okay.
So we'll chat about it or let's watch it and then we'll chat about it for a second.
Is it real or is it Aquos 8K? Welcome to a new reality. Aquos 8K. sharp. The all-new Aquos 8K and 4K.
That's ridiculous,
Yeah,
man.
that's amazing.
All right, hold on. Let's mute it. But dude, like this video is one of the ones that I come back to all the time, and I'm like, bro, have you seen like David Barker, like the stuff that he can do? Check this video out. So break this down, man. Like how did y'all design the set? Did you have it built in a big studio warehouse somewhere? Tell us all the things about this.
Yeah. Well, okay. So part of the creative was that they wanted to focus on 3 different kind of color spaces. So we decided after different conversations that we're going to do gray scale and also kind of a yellowish brownish scale and then kind of a red scale. So we just wanted to create 3 abstract sets. And at the time, their whole marketing deal was it's so high res that you can't tell if it's real or if it's, is it reality or is it on the TV screen? So, we wanted to create these kind of semi-abstract, but also kind of felt real things. So we didn't want to do any animation.
Yeah.
The only animation on this thing at all is that little
on the flower.
Some little things on the flower. And because doing animation at 8K 60 is a nightmare, it's really simple animation on that spot.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna ask.
don't hate on that part. The other thing that's kind of weird on this one is, so the guy is very robotic. That was kind of a creative, an intentional thing that came up through our various meetings, is they wanted to have him. Is he real? Is he robotic? Is he a human?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Who's the real person? Who's the human? Who's the simulated person? All that kind of vibe. And so we built it in a big studio here that I shoot at all the time. We built the gray kind of art gallery set. We built this other funky yellow walls with the wheat field kind of thing. And then we built this other like red room with water on the ground.
I love the background, like the oil painting looking. Is that did you guys paint that? Is it a backdrop?
You mean on the yellow wall? You mean?
Yes.
Yeah, the yellow wall is just kind of like a plaster wall with a little bit of texture, and then just painted.
Yeah, it looks so cool.
So
I have on my website, actually, I have a pretty good behind the scenes breakdown of this.
Yeah, what's your website, David?
It's just barkerproduction.com.
Okay. Yeah, I'd encourage people to go and check it out because his behind the scenes stuff is super cool. So whenever you build sets like this, are you involved in the design, or do you have like a team of people that does that for you and you just kind of give it the okay, or how does that work?
It's it's a teamwork thing. There's some really talented designers here that I'm super blessed to be work with. I think Taiwan has a lot of really strong kind of art workers in this field. So we kind of come up with a concept, we throw it to them, they come back with some ideas, we come back with some other ideas, and then they come up with like a SketchUp. They use that, if you know that software, SketchUp.
Yep.
So they come up with kind of like a 3D environment of it, and then we just flesh it out from there. We go to what's the textures, what is this material, what are these colors? And then this one I think took 5 days to build. And then after the 5 days, then we shot for 2 days.
Dang.
And then post took about 3 weeks.
So was it all built at the same time? So you had like different sets? So like you have this red set and then the yellow set, and the gray set. Are they all just kind of side by side?
Yeah, pretty much. It was all in like just one really big studio.
The water is sick. The water is my favorite part of the whole thing. I think it's just adds so much to it. And
yeah, the water. What was kind of cool in this one is we couldn't really get away with doing anything kind of green screen on this. Like we couldn't comp in the screen.
That's my next question because of the reflections.
Right? Yeah, so we had to shoot this one on the second day. So we had to get the shot from the wheat field from the first day, and then actually give it a rough color on set and put it into the screen so it would accurately, reflect in
so the TV is actually on here.
Yeah, definitely.
Got it. Yeah, that must have been fun to deal with reflections and stuff. To not have reflections on the screen whenever you're lighting her and things like that.
Definitely, yeah.
Dude, it's so beautiful. Like, I know this is hard for audio only people, so again, I encourage you to go and check this out. But what we're looking at is this super symmetrical red room, and then there's all these, I don't know what kind of flowers they are, kind of roses or what flowers are those?
Carnations, I think.
Okay. Whatever
Something
they
like
are,
that.
they're awesome, and they're like suspended by maybe fishing line or something all around the room. This woman's walking through this pool of water. There's this incredible TV behind her, and it's an image of something that David and his team had previously shot in that same studio of this big room with wheat everywhere, and this guy's walking through these multiple open doors. It's really, really cool.
So much to look at. Like, yeah.
In this one frame. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's so much going on in this one frame, and it all works so well together. Do y'all ever get in a moment when you're like, this wasn't in the shot list, but this looks so freaking cool, we're just going to shoot it, even though it's not in the shot list?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you get everything on the shot list done, then
first, yeah,
you can for sure.
I keep changing my opinion on which one of the 3 sets I like.
All the sets are beautiful.
Yeah.
They all work. They all work so well, man. See, like this one's got all 3 sets. Oh my bad.
Yeah.
So there's your gray, there's your red, and then there's the TV. So it's like this weird Inception thing going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. World in the world in the world.
Yep.
So for most of I was going to ask this earlier, for most of your stuff, is it all like specifically like Chinese market based, or is it supposed to be global, or is it like a mix of both? Like when the video you're making for, yeah.
The sharp one is actually from a Malaysian company.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did that originally for Malaysian market, and then it ended up getting picked up by like 18 different countries. Some in Europe, some around Asia, Russia, I think, actually. But we can't talk about Russia right now.
Yeah. We can talk about them. Yeah. We just can't do any work with them.
We can't say anything nice about them right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would say about 70% of the stuff I do is for the Taiwan market. But then, I mean, we also do some stuff for the US, for Canada, for Europe as well.
Do you have any dreams or goals moving forward? I guess specifically for expansion into other markets, but just overall kind of tell us what are the next steps for you?
Next steps would be, I would really like to open up an office in Europe or the US. I was actually in Houston right before COVID hit. I was in Houston kind of checking out everything. I have a good friend who lives down there, and I think Houston's an economy that's blowing up. And,
yeah.
I like hot weather now, so I like that. But, then COVID kind of came in and kind of ruined a bunch of plans. So I don't know. I ended up producing a movie a couple years ago, a year and a bit ago, which was quite an experience here. It was a big, like, gory, bloody zombie virus movie that's doing pretty well for us now.
Nice.
It's called The Sadness. That will be on Shudder in the US. It's available online on Shudder starting April 1st.
Oh, cool. Okay, so that's soon.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of what's coming up next in the future, I mean, I'm going to keep my office here in Taipei going. Things are going well here. We're really busy. And then I want to kind of look into that possibility about opening up somewhere in the US, and, who knows?
Yeah. Do some work with Seed Creative.
I would love to. Yeah.
We've talked about it before, actually, a few times. It'll happen one day, I promise.
One day, I'm sure it will.
All right, dude.
A national thing.
We're going to let you go. Final question. Do you have any just kind of little words of advice or anything for people that are just starting out within the video industry, or just like the creative industry in general?
Wow, that's a heavy question.
I know.
Big question, yeah.
The
fate of their careers rests in your hands. No, I'm just kidding.
I think people talk a lot about being able to sell and being able to market and all that kind of stuff. But I think you're in the same boat as us in that we don't really do a ton of marketing.
Yeah.
Right. You kind of do your thing, you do it as well as you can, and you put it out there for people to see. So you kind of create a big digital signpost and say, this is me, this is what I do.
Yep.
If you like it, then give me a call. And, you know, just like, I think that's what you're doing. And that's what has made you very successful is you don't do cold calling. I mean, we don't call anyone at all. We don't do any cold calling. We just kind of do each job as good as we can and focus on, you know, good customer experience and kind of focus on attention to detail. And if you put in the work and have some patience and try and keep it creative, then, you know, the work will come, the business will come.
Yeah, I agree. Well, dude, with that said, I think we're out. We're going to let you go home and go to sleep now. We really appreciate it. Again, it's barkerproduction.com. Go check out David's work. Go find him on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and probably Twitter. I don't do Twitter, but I'm sure you're on there. But yeah, go find his stuff. We are out, dude. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for giving us this time today.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. I love what you do. Keep doing it.
See you, bro.
We'll talk to you real soon.
Bye.
Yeah, talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.
All right, we'll cut. Yeah, dude, just when you can get to it, just if you don't mind, convert that to 1080. It'd probably be a lot easier on you, and just shoot it over to us, and we'll get it plugged in.
Yep.
So
okay, for sure.
All right, homie.
Recording stopped.
We're out of here, man. Thank you.
There you go.
See ya.
And by the way, we had an earthquake here last night at like 1 a.m. So
Are
you
you
guys were having tornadoes. We had a little earthquake. So I had my plants and my paintings rattling on the walls right when you're getting your
That's terrifying.
Yeah,
we don't have earthquakes in Alabama, but we have tornadoes pretty regularly.
right.
So yeah, it sucks. But all right, man. Well, we're out of here, dude. Thank you so much.
See ya.
Yeah, thanks,
See ya.
guys. We'll
Bye.
see you guys. Bye-bye.
All right, well, that's about it. I think that was an incredible conversation. I mean, there's so much more. I could talk to him for hours, but, you know, we wanted to respect his time. I meant to ask him.
He needs to go to bed.
Yeah, I wanted to ask him. I don't know what he edits on. Do you know?
They use a Resolve.
Oh, they do?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm 99% sure that they are DaVinci folks.
Well, yeah, he is incredible, so I hope we get a chance to work with him at some point. So
I think we'll.
we'll see. Let's take a trip.
Hey, you know what would be awesome is if we could like maybe work somehow on like maybe a documentary. We could win an Emmy. I know we've already done that.
I was wondering how we were gonna get
That
it
was
in.
good.
That's pretty good.
Okay. All right, we're leaving now. Goodbye.
Bye.
This podcast was produced by Nick Golden with executive producer George Edmondson, edited by Nick Golden and Gavin Manning. Be sure to subscribe, drop a like and a comment. Tune in every Monday for brand new podcast content, and we'll see you on the next one.